Good morning. 1 hour and a half into a new day here. We've had Bitcoin obviously roll over. It's taking its sweet time, and its lack of volatility kind of has to be seen as strength in a way. It's also staying pretty steady price-wise after this. It's left an open bar or open candle. Obviously, if you go to the bar instead of candles, we can see it clearly. It's left an open bar here. So that is kind of, again, bullish, whether or not it needs to be closed out now or, further downside and then coming up. Closing it out is a bit more bearish, just because it gives it, it gives it less opportunity or less reason to go up. And we can see how bearish it does look there, stark contrast to what it used to be of just all green. Now it's not even just a little bit, it's quite a while of red. It's clearly dominant. But that's nothing to base anything on. But the thing I think is interesting here with Pax Gold against Bitcoin, and Nick Hatt said in the group, PaxG against ETH, Kraken, I think, yeah. Down here, okay, there we are. I prefer up there, but what is it, daily, I think? Yeah. So what they're doing, they're both coming into their resistance. Whilst Bitcoin, which I've gotten rid of, is looking like it's at its support. Now these might break out and Bitcoin might break down. And I think, more and more people are just wanting it to go down for different reasons. And there's a lot of, speculation around gold moving up. But this is coming into resistance, and Bitcoin is into support. This too is in resistance. Ethereum is into support. Now, it seems more likely that these play out. The US dollar does move higher. The Pax against, obviously, Ethereum and Bitcoin both hold higher. Gold. And but even with SPY, we've had a bit of a bounce, quite a bit of a bounce. And with Bitcoin on support, it's hard to say if this is not going to actually fold. If gold is not going to fold, the US dollar is not going to roll over. Maybe get a bit higher, maybe test a bit above. Same with both of these, test a bit higher than where the resistance is, like this wick, and have a bit more of a rollover. That doesn't mean the move fails. It just means it's dragged out longer. It doesn't mean Bitcoin does reach highs, in the next 2 months. It just means there's a bit more chop. Got rid of Bitcoin chart, but we can see even when SPY and traditional markets and Bitcoin did drop, it was things like wheat that had the strength, basic things that we kind of needed that weren't, this had a massive move, but not as big as some of the others. It did seem a bit less oversold. But throughout this sell-off, it's had major strength. It's during the strength of the stock market, the SPY market. I'm swapping these charts awfully here, but it's during the strength of the SPY market, traditional markets, equities, that this has been, consolidating, rolling over. It looks bearish, if anything. It's got a descending triangle there, dips just below its descending triangle, bounces right back into the pattern. And so, yeah, that's it. It's same with in Australian equities, the things that kind of held up a tiny bit better, even when CBA, the major bank, the government bank, had basically, 10% drop. These were a bit stronger, and this is just a still group, makes not much money, about 10 million a year, even though it's only valued at 50, as assets too, of course. But then, what was it? Just a basic, another resource. So these simple companies that basically 50% move when a lot of the things are dropping. What is it? It's about 50. I know it's about. So and this is another simple one, had very low profits to earnings price to earnings, and it just looked like a simple move. Everything else was overextended, was overvalued when there was a bit of uncertainty. And when there was uncertainty, the money needs to cycle somewhere. And it seems like it's cycling to things that are a bit more certain when the world is going uncertain. There was it's not as strong. But if you work on the principle of aluminum must be extruded, then this aluminum extrusion company, it's a simply good idea. But you might not work on that proposition. But things that it just seems that they're a bit healthier have survived this downturn better. But now they're going into the resistance themselves. Now, does it break out? Are we going into a trend of these safer assets? And I know US dollar doesn't seem safe to a lot of people, and it seems weird, but it has to be relative to other currencies. This is a currency index against other currencies, the US dollar. And other currencies have been following the US dollar and their policies lead for a long time. And they've got a less of an international demand, I would say. I think as most people would say. So, are they more inflated than others? It seems at this point, this point in the market, people are thinking the other currencies are. But they're coming into a resistance. This is coming into resistance. Basic, resource companies, materials, steel, things that with a low price to earnings ratio, they're coming into a bit of resistance themselves too. This is not the best chart for it. And Bitcoin's going to support. SPY market has bounced. I'm showing all the wrong charts here, but that gives us the opportunity for actually buying into Bitcoin here. Now, I do think it's going to have I think it can go lower, and I would love it to. I think I'm being biased there. But, there's a lot of bearish things happening, and the other side looks very strong. But there is the opportunity that the other side's going to fail, and this side's going to go up, because, they're into resistance, and this is into support. And the dollar always drops, and Bitcoin always goes up, So it's very similar range to what it's been, but we might not have had the opportunity, or people might not have had the opportunity here. I didn't buy it with either of these. I wanted to, but now we've had a bit of a range here, and I think this is going to be a bit more of a range. So we're going to have a lot more of an opportunity to just maybe ladder a tiny bit in, and it may move up. Obviously, people probably have their holdings or whatever, so they want to see a bounce, but this is still bearish. This isn't going to be, and we can't say it's strong until it's strength. And there's strength here and here, and that's weakness here. So we're all going to, but we have to be open to I'm going to stop it here, but we have to be open still to not just expecting this to break resistance and not expecting this to break support, but to actually be support and to be resistance. So I think this is more just, a reminder to make sure you're not overextended either way. Either way falls into what you would like to happen. And when in doubt, the US dollar has, it's always dropped. It's always been in a bear market. It's being a bit strong now, but it still offers opportunities later on. So being a bit in the US dollars, a bit in equities, a bit in gold, a bit in Bitcoin, and rotating it when it goes into support and it goes into resistance is normally a decent way to compound some wealth over time, obviously with risk management, and that means percentage, smaller percentages. If you're thinking a certain percentage, maybe half it, do it by a quarter. But it's good to have a rotation normally when things have strength and others have weakness. I'll end it there.